now.
Hi, welcome. This is Wendy Rose Williams, and I'm so happy to have you joining us on Waking Up Spiritually. We are here, Greg Kirk and I are here the second and fourth Sunday of the month at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And I am a past life adventure guide. I help people release chronic pain, anxiety, depression, things that just don't serve us anymore so that we can have a happier, healthier life and feel that we're living our life purpose. And my website is wendyrosewilliams.com. And I would love to chat with people who would like to learn more about the services and whether I may be of assistance to you. So you can request a complimentary phone appointment there from the website. And I'm going to turn over to Greg to introduce himself as well as today's topic. Again, welcome.
Hello, I'm Greg Kirk. You can find me at gregkirk.com. That's spelled GREGGKIRK.com. I do energy healing in person and also remotely. In person, I use tuning forks and Reiki-like procedures, but also delve into other lifetimes and other energy forms that may have been bothering you. So I also run an online group healing circle that I host every Sunday. So you're always welcome to join me there. You can click on the events link at gregkirk.com and you'll see when we have the next one scheduled, but it's every Sunday. Anyway.
Well, fantastic. Greg, one technical question. Are we recording on Zoom? I know we're on Facebook Live, but are we also set to record on Zoom?
Yes, actually, we're only recording on Zoom.
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you.
Well, I mean, Facebook does keep it for a while. We don't need to get into the technical details because I don't know.
Thumbs up. Thank you.
Right. I don't know how Facebook does that anyway, but what I use is a recording from Zoom to put on our website, which we should mention, at wakingupspiritually.com. That's where we archive all of our past broadcasts. So you can always go there to wakingupspiritually.com, click on the broadcast link, and you can scroll through. We've done so many now. I've lost count, but we've been doing them almost a year, I think.
We started in May, so there's been 2 months since May.
Okay. All right. So as I was saying, I run this online group healing circle, and some information has been coming through, also with individual sessions, but there's some information that's been coming through that has been consistent, and I've talked it over with Wendy, really right around the time of the new year. This information kept coming in that people needed to take care of your break cycles and patterns and habits that no longer serve you. So it was coming up, I believe, in Wendy's work as well.
Yes.
But it came to a crescendo right around the winter solstice, which was the 21st of December. And then, of course, with the new year, when we're all looking at resolutions and things like that, it got even stronger. So we want to talk about that today, and to benefit everybody who's watching and listening, and also for ourselves. I mean, right now I think everybody can agree that we're going through some unusual times right now, and it's not just the physical stuff you're watching on your TV or in social media. It's people are talking about it energetically as well. Everything is different. So if everything is different, why would you go about approaching it with old ways? Meaning, things that have served you potentially in the past. So that's really the thing we want to talk about today, is why is it important to break cycles and habits and patterns that no longer serve you? Because everything is changing. Nothing stays the same. So, let's get down into the details of this. So you may have started some habits or cycles or whatever you want to call it because of a reaction to something bad that was happening to you in the past. You may have kind of sheltered yourself from stuff that was coming at you in the past, and that's perfectly fine to do that. But if you've created a comfort zone for yourself where you're not growing as a person, and you're just kind of for instance, binge watching on Netflix. A lot of people are talking about that right now oh my gosh, everything's so crazy right now with the pandemic and politics and everything. I need to get away from it all. And I need to, let me just binge watch Netflix. Well, let's face it, that's like junk food, and depending on what you're watching. But I mean, for the most part, the people I'm talking to, that's their comfort zone, or even just, binge watching movies and TVs and series and things like that. That's an area that we tend to go to right now to get away from it all. And it's not to say it's bad to do every now and then. I mean, sometimes it's enjoyable. And there are some great shows. There's some great documentaries, actually. I was just talking about today on Netflix. There's one I would highly recommend. I'm sure you know of it. It's called Surviving Death. That's on Netflix. And that's fantastic. So great, watch those shows. But if you're just watching a show to unplug or to get away from it all, you might need one or two of those. But if that's all you're doing, you're not doing yourself any good. You're kind of postponing the inevitable. There's an old saying that, destiny is what meets you on the road you take to avoid it. I mean, this stuff is going to start building up. If all you do is avoid the things, if you do these kinds of things in your life, it's going to start to come back to you and kind of bite you in the butt. So how will you know when this is happening? One, you'll start to get sick. Or two, things will start to go wrong in your life. And in fact, it might even bring about an intervention from your guides. You'll start to get in things like car accidents, or you'll start to injure yourself, or bad will start to happen. Your guides have a very abrupt way sometimes of breaking your habits or discontinuing them for a
shaking
time.
you awake.
Shaking you to wake you kind of idea. This happens all the time. So we're pointing this out now so you don't have to go through that. You can take that road that's a detour, but the impact you're going to have, the more you avoid and the more you put off, it gets worse. The dog bite that comes to bite your butt gets worse. Whereas if you can kind of take care of business right now, that would be better. Okay, so let's talk about what this feels like. First of all, you got to you got to examine yourself. You got to unplug from everything, unplug from the social media, the TV, all that kind of stuff, and really look at what's going on in your life now. Look at how much of your life is robotic behavior, and how much of that doesn't serve you. How much of that doesn't feel good. So that's number one. You'll know when a habit or a behavior or a routine is not good for you when it starts to feel bad. And maybe it'll start to feel bad while you're in the middle of it. So that's actually a good sign. Another thing is if it just is like neutral or even zero energy, or potentially a little bit of negative energy where you do it, or even thinking about, oh, I got to do this, starts to not feel good to you. So it's good to understand this now, before you just start to live a robotic life of not doing anything different. And just, the problem is if you start piling your life up with these behaviors that are just robotic, then you become a robot most of your life, and you're not growing as a person. And that's when the world will come crashing down on you. So what do you do? So number one is identify what kind of behaviors are not serving you anymore. Now, there's a couple of things like, loading the dishwasher and, things like that. Okay. They don't feel good, but you got to clean your house, you got to clean your dishes. Understand the difference between that and maybe, an interaction you have with a coworker where you're going to lunch with that coworker every day. Because why? It would be impolite not to. But if you go to lunch with that coworker and that coworker is sucking the life out of you by complaining about other people you work with and other things like that, so much so that when you leave that lunch engagement, you're drained, look at that. And isn't it better to be somewhat mildly rude and not ever go to lunch with that person again than to withstand that kind of negative energy that you're getting every day. So it's things like that. So that's kind of a double situation of, it's not just a pattern that you're in, but there's people in your life that you need to distance yourself some, to
And
unplug from.
you could also be doing that person a favor, because once the dumping ground is removed, they're going to have to find a different way to deal with their own issues, and hopefully it'll be a more positive one.
Absolutely. Exactly. So, so part of these, this is kind of this is the outset of the cycles and the patterns and habits that you're looking at, but there might be something deeper going on as well. So this is the stuff that you can kind of take care of on your own in your conscious mind, and look at, do I really have to go to lunch with this person again? And can you kind of take hold of the reins of your life and do something else that's more constructive for you, and get out of that energy sucking situation? Absolutely. Unfortunately, some of these things are a little bit, well, they're not out of your control, but they might feel like it. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about contracts, trick agreements, and even curses, a lot of these from a past life that are out of your control. So, or not out of your control, but out of your conscious mind. So what is that?
We may not be aware of.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, you might not be aware of it with your conscious mind, but you'll start to notice, and this is for the people who are a little more intuitive and empathetic and so forth, you'll start to notice, like, why do I feel the need to do this thing all the time when it's just not doing me any good at all? Why? And even after I do it, I feel bad about it, but I just feel like this compulsion to do it all the time. Look at that. So, I mean, Wendy, you do a lot, you do these past life regressions. You must see this kind of stuff come up quite a bit with people, right? This idea of the past life contract and so forth.
Yes, because there can be contracts that just don't serve us, and we've got to love ourselves first, and we've got every right to have healthy boundaries for ourselves. So we're not here to be anyone's slave or punching bag, or to have to just be taking out the trash for them. That's not our role. We're here to live our own life purpose and just work to have the best health and energy and relationships, and just be on our own path, not be having it dictated by old junk, whether it's old contracts or karma that's just not making sense because we've really finished up the lesson, but we just didn't know to cut the cord. That type of thing. So there's lots of practices and rituals. So I look forward to turning the page and getting to talking about some of those.
Yeah. So so this gets into some stuff that is uncomfortable potentially. So what one of those is curses, but the other thing are these trick contracts. So I see this situation in my individual sessions from time to time where I engage with the person's energy body. I see their energy body, and we're pulling blocks and things out of the energy body. But I see, a couple, maybe one or two or even three negative beings on the periphery of this person's energy, like outside their etheric field, and they're just waiting there. I'm like, what is going on? They're not doing anything to them yet. But they're waiting. And when I ask them why they're here, they say, we have a right to be here. And sometimes they are actually attached by a cord or something to the person I'm working with. And when I remove the cord and I say, okay, now you can go, they say, no, I have a right to be here. So that's when I understand, oh, this is because of a trick or an unconscious agreement that was made a lifetime or more ago. And in a recent session I'm in the process of working with a young gentleman who's got layers and layers of this. So we found the initial interaction that happened, And believe it or not, it was with a group of aliens. Okay, so it was aliens who abducted him. Oh, I'm talking 2 millennia ago. So that, aliens haven't just been around since the 1950s. That's kind of when they came into our consciousness, with this generation of humans. But aliens have been around for thousands of years. And I saw this guy's original situation happen where he was abducted probably 2,500 years ago. The aliens brought him on board. They started doing things to him. And while he was already under their manipulation, he agreed to let them continue to do this. And while the door was open on that, they manipulated him into doing a lot of bad things in other lives beyond that. And during those lifetimes, he made promises to other groups of entities, not aliens, where they could do whatever they wanted to him. So I didn't know this was something that could happen until recently. I just figured it was kind of a one and done, like, oh, you've only got one contract. But well, no, this poor guy's got multiple ones. And we're just now kind of peeling the layers of the onion off. And that's a tough situation. So,
but it absolutely can be rectified. And that's so powerful that you got to the first one. And then as he stands in his power and becomes sovereign and declares he's only willing to work with contracts that serve him in this lifetime. I don't mean to, please tell me your story, Greg.
No.
Thoughts are going.
No, it's unbelievable what this guy's going through. At this point, the negative beings have probably are possessing his mother. He's very, very ill physically. He's living at home with his mother. His mother abuses him every day, mentally, mainly, and also through neglect. And he's told me that she's so irrational and so cruel, and she's gotten worse, that it's clearly not her. Like she's being manipulated by these negative beings. And I have to say, when I first started working with him, it made it, his energy was so rough, and his personality was very, I have to say, repellent. So he had this force field of just like,
Poor guy. Absolutely.
Didn't want to work with him.
Right,
he was
right.
annoying. It made you mad at him. And
Right.
it took a lot of willpower for me to see through that.
Mhm.
So finally, it really, when it started to get better, at least working with him through me, was when we pulled this original contract off, and it was like, oh my God, now I finally see what he's going through. Now I understand the picture better,
Mhm.
We still are peeling the layers off. I'm sure there's more contracts that we got to work with here, but this is what's going on. So, so he's had these kind of trick or manipulated contracts. It's also what I saw in him was curses were put on him on top of this. Like he's just got these layers.
It's often just a double whammy, yes, or triple whammy. Absolutely. I mean, that's how you beat someone down and just lower their energy,
right?
Lower their vibration.
So all of this is at play here. All of this is the picture. So I think mostly our audience consists of people who are in tune with this idea and hopefully can understand for themselves what are the things that are the temporal things that you can handle yourself versus stuff that you might need some help with. Because I'm not saying it's not a possibility, but I don't know of anybody who's gotten rid of these contracts and things on their own. They usually need an outside source because these things are so personal and confusing. I'm sure somebody could do it. I'm obviously there's people who have the strength and the understanding and the wisdom to do it, but it's usually better to work with another practitioner who can see this stuff clearly and who's not involved in the energy, because the energy is so confusing.
Right. And they're not involved emotionally in it, because there's a lot of playing on emotions that typically goes into that.
Right. So luckily we've got 2 practitioners who do this kind of stuff. So contact us if you feel you've got this, this type of problem. But so what does this stuff feel like? It feels like, days like you can do no right, like the world is against you, right?
Mhm.
I this had happened to me decades ago, and I knew it. And this was before I was awake. I would literally crumple up a piece of paper, and a garbage can would be right next to me, and I would throw it, and it would bounce off wildly. Like, what? Even that? It went down to everything I did went wrong. Till finally, one night I was pulled over coming home from work at like 2 a.m, and a police officer pulled me over. I'm like, what now? I'm a mile from my house. What? I'm so tired. And he said, no, you got an outstanding ticket in Nebraska from 2 years ago. So when that kind of wild stuff happens to you, like out of nowhere, just like it's raining on you every day, that's when I finally realized, this seems to even have some intelligence behind it. This is like pulling the carpet out from under my feet every day, every opportunity. So if that kind of stuff happens to you, first of all, it's not your fault. So don't, don't take it as an ego blow. You're being
And it
forward.
can get better. It absolutely, because I
Right.
went through it too. So yes.
Yes. So, I mean, maybe we could talk a little bit about what you went through so people can understand what to look for. What kind of things?
Yes, right now, Greg, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Just briefly, what happened was I started really waking up spiritually in 2010. And what I discovered by 2013 and 2014 was I had a lot of fear that I needed to resolve. And there was, exactly like you're describing, there was a ton of negative contracts. There was a ton of curses, just attacks. There was all kinds of stuff that was absolutely ridiculous. And that was part of how I survived it, because I would just laugh at times going, this is just, like you said, you're a foot from the trash can and you can't get the paper to go in it.
Right.
And you feel like the energy like bouncing back at you in a way that's not serving you, I think is part of the key.
Right.
And I'm a pretty strong, happy person in general, but because it was opening up spiritually, it was time to take out the trash, so to speak, and to resolve the things that weren't serving me. So that's why it was all started really, really coming up. And I would literally hear at times, you are cursed. This will never get better. And I thought that's a very intriguing voice. That's a very intriguing thing to say to me. And luckily, I've got the personality. When you tell me that I can't do something that I know is beneficial and that I know is important, that gives me a lot of motivation. Because I get a little bit pissed off in a positive way. It raises my motivation.
Right.
So, I started realizing, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why am I hearing? And it didn't feel like self-talk, because it was a very robotic voice. It was very male. It was very mechanical. And honestly, it was rather a bit stupid. So I just started realizing, what is that? That's like not my self-talk. That's not me being down on myself. It's not like a ego moment. What is that? And I was very fortunate. I did find the perfect healers to work with to get me started. And worked with two of them in particular that just really helped me get things cleaned up. And a lot of what I had to resolve was I had a ton of victim energy, and I had a ton of martyrdom energy. So just was like letting all this crap just accumulate and just be thrown at me that didn't make sense, that wasn't, quote, fair. And it's because I didn't have good boundaries. That was a big part of it too. I didn't know how to ground and clear my own energy. I didn't know how to raise my vibration. I didn't know how to declare my sovereignty. So I'd become kind of this lightning rod for these really crappy experiences, very challenging experiences, which I did learn from, but I don't recommend it as the path to learning. I wish I'd stood up for myself sooner and faster, but I did the best I could. And I then went through 2 years of very tough psychic attacks. And they were almost daily. And it got to the point where I honestly was afraid to fall asleep, even though I had learned the practice of blessing myself and protecting my energy and my space before I went to sleep, but I was still having problems. And it was starting to impact my family too, just like you described this young client that you're working with currently. Because that then, once I finally got my energy really squared away, and I took care of my contracts, and I'll explain how I did that because it was really kind of humorous. Contracts that did not serve me. But my biggest fear then became, well, what if I really get on my life path? And what if I really do what I'm meant to do? Because I feel a lot of resistance to it. I feel a lot of negative energy trying to block it, trying to stop it. What if this negative energy goes after my family? You know, I had 2 children living at home with me. I had an elderly mother right next door. You know, a beloved cat in the home. You know, just it's like, gosh, what if they go after all that? So just by my thinking that, of course, what starts to happen. So there had to be some adjustments made with that, and I had to deal with and make the decision, I am going to live my life purpose. And no one is going to stop me from doing that because God is going to help me do that. It's just that clear. So over time, I was able to resolve those psychic attacks. I learned not to get emotional when I was being attacked. I learned to turn to my higher self and guides, God, the angels, whoever came immediately into my mind could help me. I would go immediately there, put up my shields, just be as emotionless as possible, and just say, I don't resonate with this garbage. I just do not resonate with this nonsense. That is not for me. And I just started raising my vibration from that after having spent eons of physically engaging and fighting and just, you know, going through this. So that was kind of my journey. And what I specifically did with the soul contracts, my spiritual teacher told me at the time that I had just an incredible number of them that did not serve me. And I don't believe we have any obligation to follow an old soul contract that is not in your highest interest. It's not for your best. It's not from a place of love at this point. And I'm not talking about getting out of work. I'm not talking about not learning our lessons. The contracts that plain old do not serve us. So what she suggested I do was take a big piece of legal paper, because that just felt like a contract. So I took it from a legal pad and I wrote on it, contracts complete. And I dated it and I signed it and I put it purposefully on my home altar at the time of the full moon to release. And I was told there's a lot of them. So get ready for an interesting time period. We'll see what happens. I then went through 30 days that were some of the craziest of my life, of people just making outrageous demands, just being mean and nasty. There was some of the opposite too. People were just like offering to help and like bringing me things and just being so wonderful. But like the energy really got stirred up from that because I had declared those contracts that didn't serve me and weren't of the light. I was done with them, period. So at the end of that 30 days, after going through that, and all these people coming out of the woodwork, I mean, people literally contacted me from elementary school that like, I didn't even remember. It just got that crazy. And at the end of it, what I did was I took it and I tore it up because I declared those contracts complete. I agree, Kitty. Midnight wants to uh, really highlight that point. And I burned them. I just had a nice little ceremony outside and I just burned them in a can and just let that go up into the ethers because it was nothing to do with me anymore. And then I really did have, start to have the strength when there was this just occasional testing, because that was the breakthrough, but then there was the occasional testing. But it was never as hard or as intense again after those 2 years, but it was 2 full years. And it even got so bad that a woman purposefully hit my car while I was driving it. And I my head went, I had just had a massage, so my neck was all nice and loose. So my head went forward and like smacked on the steering wheel. So I had a mild concussion from it. And I took my time getting out of the car because as muddled as my head was, I was hearing protect, 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 protect. But I knew I had to get out and exchange insurance information. And she tried to get near me, and I physically walked around the other side of the car, and I wouldn't let her near me or touch me because I was hearing very clearly, this is a witch, you're being targeted. This is a witch, keep your distance. So it was very, very interesting because I wouldn't have said I would have believed in any of those things before. But when you outright experience it,
Yeah.
it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to argue with. But it can all be turned around. There's just so many things we can do and so many practices. And this is an interesting topic, Greg, because I kind of went back through our earlier podcasts, and this takes us back to the episode on soul contracts that we did on November 8th. So that's a good one to review, because people should just get nice and clear and just meditate and talk with your guides and say, how do I progress? How can I live my purpose? How can I be a being of love? How can I attract the resources I need to do my purpose? This gets into the episode we had on energy attachments and programming. It gets into the Raise Your Vibration we did on September 27th, spiritual tools on August 9th, because having spiritual tools and a spiritual practice we talked about on July 26th. That really is the kind of thing I want to turn the conversation over to and talk about. How do you change these sorts of things and change these habits, change this programming? Energy management, because it's such a big topic. We talked about June 14th and 28th. And the past lives piece that can come up was May 30th, and working with your guides was May 16th. So it's funny, it kind of does a rollback through so many of the
encompasses
programs.
all of the above. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it goes from, like I said, the very kind of mundane of what are the habits that are going on in your life that you need to break that are no longer serving you because you're not getting any positive energy out of it. So pay attention to those. But then look at the things in your life that might be outside of that. So the more ethereal things that are happening in your life. And just like Wendy was talking about. So why are these things happening? Why are these contracts in place? Because they're compromising and using your energy as food or fuel. So 100% of these beings, they're like parasites. And like Wendy said, some of them, they're not even very bright. A lot of them that I see, in fact, some of them only have like animal intelligence, some of the attachments that I see. But the ones that are smart enough to do contracts they're a little more sophisticated. So they're the ones that will actually put up a bit of a fight. But all of these beings are here to feed on your lower emotions. There's a term called loosh, Loosh. That's what they feed off of. So what is that? That's fear, despair, hopelessness, sadness, feelings of unworthiness, hopelessness, all that stuff. That's what they eat. That's what
So that's what they poke for, and that's what they try and create because they need that energy, they need that fuel.
Right. So understand that. So understand how important it is to get these things out of your field and your energy body at all costs, because we're going through these new energies now. And it's time for those of us who are really trying to meet the positive energy to not have any encumbrances. I refer to it as it's kind of like being in a wind tunnel in my online group Healing Circles. So if you've got stuff that's non-aerodynamic hanging out of your energy, it's gonna have some wind drag. The energy that's coming is very fast now. It's picking up speed. And for people who are doing their internal work and getting all their encumbrances off of them, they're starting to feel good. I'm having people having people reporting in the online group that I'm talking about. A couple of people are saying, "Hey, I'm having a good time right now." So good
people
for
are
them.
bringing in really positive past life energies and remembering amazing skills that they used to have. I just had a couple come back to me via dreaming at night. And I wake up in the morning and say, what is this? And my guides would explain it. And I'm like, well, I feel like I have that ability. And they're like, you do. That's the point. It's come back to you. You can start enjoying it and using it again.
So, let's take, I would like to, because we're recording this, this is an episode where you can review, in fact, even use it as a guided meditation, because what I'd like to do for the remainder of our broadcast today is to do a declaration of our sovereignty, a protection ritual that I do all the time. We've done it in past sessions or broadcasts, and then an actual guided meditation that you can do on your own.
That'd be a fantastic way to end, Greg. Can I take 2 minutes to do some of the techniques of things I've found to turn around that just that sticky bad habit that doesn't help you anymore? So we know from psychology, 17 days to form a new habit. So one of the easiest things I can do if I know it's something I want to change and I just want that reminder, I just literally, I write it on sticky notes and like put it around where I'm just going to see it, or I put it literally right on my calendar. So it's there for 17 days. That's one thing I do. Another thing is I put a bowl of salt, any kind of big coarse salt, especially underneath my bed, underneath my pillow. So it's like right up there by my head. So as I'm going to sleep and just expressing my gratitude and saying my prayers, etc., I just ask to have anything that does not serve me to just go into that during the night. And I can just feel it. It's just like emptying through my subconscious, my unconscious, through my dreams. And if I get up in the morning and, anything felt disturbing or grumpy or not great, I just change the salt. I just throw it out and put a new one there and ask to attract better and better energy to me. So I don't change it every day. It's just what feels right to you. But that practice really helps me. And the affirmations I mentioned. Also, you can just do simple rituals and ask for help. And even if you don't know the details of why you're stuck in this really darned pattern. For instance, exercising. I have never loved exercising. I've gotten so many suggestions, techniques. Finally, the one that worked for me was my guide said, you need to make it a spiritual practice. You need to make it a way of loving your body. So I said, okay. And they said, we don't care if you just do it for 10 minutes a day. At this point, we just need it to be fun and light. So someone kindly donated exercise equipment to me that I put on my back porch because the gyms are closed due to COVID. And I like it being on my back porch. I didn't plan to put it there, but it's out in the fresh air and I'm like seeing all the trees. So it's like a 2-for-1. And what I did was I chose to listen to a really fun, uplifting audiobook. And I can only listen to it when I'm exercising on that gym equipment. So all of a sudden, it's like, finally, I got my energy aligned to be able to do that. And it really, really feels good. And the earlier in the day I do it, the more momentum it gives me. So I try and do it in the morning. Another one certainly is prayer. Just find prayers that you like, write your own, say your own, listen to them, but that can absolutely change these habits that we've felt so stuck with, as can meditations. That's why we're going to end with Greg doing that. And then, of course, also doing past life regression or a healing session with Greg can really make a difference. But I just wanted to put some of those ideas out there. And also, as I mentioned, burning things up, writing a letter, or doing what I did with the soul contracts and then burning it and just letting it go. It's just such a symbolic way of letting something go. Writing that letter to someone that you're no longer in contact with, but where it never felt great. And you just really wish you could have improved it or needed to say something, just write it and then burn it. And it just goes, it moves out of your energy and it lightens you up. It's like Greg being in that wind tunnel with his arms all the way out, just letting that stuff blow off you so that we've just got cleaner, better energy coming in all the time because we're letting go of things. So
Really great suggestions. I love the salt and the burning. Those are
They're
all,
really simple.
they're
Like I
powerful
said,
because you're changing matter, especially with the burning, and the salt is used. I've had a curse removed from or being removed from a mirror years ago, and somebody who was an expert came in and they used salt and put it around the perimeter, and so these are
exactly.
things that have been used for thousands of years. So
And
the
it's your
birth,
intent too, just my intent as I'm going to sleep every night, because I know the dream time is really powerful. And guess what? Sleep is a third of our lives. So I just try and use it in an intentional way of not only really healing and resting, but letting go of that stuff I do not need. And then I literally can just throw it away in the morning.
okay, I was just checking real quick to see if we had any questions.
Oh, great.
We don't, and
Okay.
I just have one quick thing I want to share to get us ready for the meditation and the declaration of sovereignty. So a part of it's I included it in a very recent episode that we did, but I want to review it because of the importance of visualizing exactly what what we're talking about here. So let me share the screen real quick. Here we go. And okay. So I showed this slide before in a recent episode. This is where I've been using this area more recently for the benefit of aligning people back up with their purpose of life, with their energy now in this lifetime, and with their higher self and their oversoul. Because I'm finding that kind of like a spine that gets out of whack, there's like a spiritual chiropractic realignment that needs to happen with almost everybody. Because let's face it, you go through your different lives and everything gets a little out of whack. Even just within one lifetime, things can get out of whack. So one of the points of doing this meditation is to getting you literally realigned with yourself and how you're expressing yourself here and now, and your oversoul, and kind of not just kind of meditating on your life's purpose. Because that's something we kind of have a vague idea about. Some people have a strong idea about, but let's focus in on what that really is for you. So let's talk about the where we're going to be doing this. So we're going to focus on an area called the higher self, or the spark of God. If you look over to the right, there's an outline of a human form. What you see going down vertically is something called the pranic tube. So this is an energetic channel. It's not a physical place. It's a 2-inch. Imagine if somebody took a 2-inch diameter tube and just put it all the way through your body, going all the way out the bottom of you, the perineum. This is an important energetic area of your body. It's your core. And there's a lot of connection to the creator that exists in this core. And it culminates in an orb, this blue area that I've shown here, that is right behind your sternum. It's in the very center of your heart chakra. I see your heart chakra radiating out in the front of you and radiating out in the back of you. This is very center. So what is this orb? What's going on here? Well, 50% of the energy in this orb, and it's about the size, a little bit bigger than baseball. 50% of that is how you're expressing your individuality now at this time in this lifetime, and this is where you're connected to your physical body and your energetic body. So it's a physical thing. The other 50% of it is energy from the creator. So this is where you're actually connected to God. So this has been referred to in the Bible. Here's a quote from the Bible: being asked by the Pharisees, Jesus was asked by the Pharisees, when was the kingdom of God coming? And he said, it's not something that's going to come through signs or something that is observed. The kingdom of heaven is within you now. This is where it is. So it's right here in this orb. So what's the importance of this orb? During this meditation, we're going to focus on this orb because I found out through some experiments with the group I run, when we really focus on this orb, we notice a black dot in the center of it that is actually a portal where you can take your consciousness, go all the way through it and out, and you end up in an area that is nothingness. It's darkness. There's nothing there. That's your own personal universe. This is an area where you can go to literally get away from it all. There's no other beings there. This is just you and the creator. It's a safe space.
Mhm.
But instead of going through all of that, you can stay in the orb itself. It's also a safe zone. And you can start to pull energy through it back into, your energy field. Now it can start to affect your physical body. And this energy is only going to come from this safe area or from the creator. And what we do is we pull this energy in and it starts to radiate out through the orb, and it just feels amazing. So it's love, light, and healing, and it's light codes. It's information that you need right now. And some of it is time release. So it's information that you're getting right now that you probably won't become aware of until, weeks to months from now. But it's everything that's good for you.
At the perfect time.
At the perfect time. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on that area. I just wanted to let people visualize it a little better and understand the nature of it. It's an amazing area that I just became aware of just about a month ago. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Wonderful.
Yeah, going to stop sharing. So we are ready to go. Let's begin by a protection ritual. I always do. We're going to invoke Archangel Michael, Raphael, Saint Germain, all the guides, guardian angels, healing entities, and non-physical beings who have all of our best interests in mind to provide healing, guidance, and protection for everyone watching this broadcast and everyone participating in the broadcast right now. We are all sovereign beings practicing free will, and we do not give permission for anything or anyone to enter our fields or our bodies without our consent, and we do not allow the mingling of our energies during this broadcast and during the viewing of the broadcast. Thank you all. So let's start with some quick healing breaths. We're going to breathe in through the nose, love, light, and healing. Wait, I'm going to describe the breaths, so don't do it until I begin. We're going to bring love, light, and healing into the body. We're going to hold it for 8 beats in the belly, and then we're going to release anything that doesn't serve us out through the mouth through a long 10-second exhale. So let's begin now, starting breathing in through the nose. Hold it. Release. In through the nose again. Hold it. Release. Last one, in through the nose. Hold it. Release. Okay. I am going to put Wendy on mute for a second because what we're going to do now is our declaration of sovereignty. So what I am going to ask is that everybody who's watching this now live and then, through later broadcasts, repeat after me very slowly. It's important that we say these words physically out loud. It's not okay just to say, to think them or to pray them. You need to declare it out loud. It creates a sound vibration that is important and needs to affect the atmosphere around you and ripple through the ether. So please repeat after me. I am a sovereign being practicing free will. I do not give permission for any beings to compromise my energy field or my body. I am now declaring my personal sovereignty. All contracts that have been made in past lives, all trick agreements that have been made in past lives, all curses that have been made in past lives are now null and void and finished. These contracts, these trick agreements and curses do not serve me at all in this lifetime, and they are now hereby discontinued. All beings related to these agreements must now disperse from my energy field and body according to universal law. Once again, I'm declaring my sovereignty. All contracts are null and void. All agreements are null and void, and all curses are null and void. And all beings related to them are now dispersed from my energy body and field and are to be sent up to the Creator to be transmuted into love, light, and healing. You may notice a lifting of your energy right now, or even a little disturbance in your energy field. This is normal. These beings don't like to leave, but it is time for them to leave. They cannot stay in your field as per the universal laws of sovereignty. Okay. So now we're going to focus on this area, the very center of your chest that we talked about. This orb of your higher self, this God spark area. Start to visualize it. Like I said, it is kind of like a crystal ball or a ball of light that's a little bit bigger than a baseball, that's just behind your sternum, in the very center of you where your pranic tube is. And start to feel the energy that it's waking up right now. It's starting to generate some good loving energy. And you'll know this you'll start to feel your heart relax. Your chest should start to feel like it's relaxing right now. And there's a warmness coming from within. Allow yourself to feel that. And if it feels good to you, give gratitude back to it. And that'll make it shine even brighter and get even warmer. So while we're focusing on this area, we're going to start to spin energy around us. This is something you can imagine happening around you horizontally, kind of like, the rings of Saturn spinning around you, or a hula hoop of energy spinning around you right now. Start to spin it around you. And spin it in the direction as if somebody were looking down at you from above. That the direction is clockwise. So from left to right. So this energy spinning around you. Why is it spinning? It's starting to pull good energy and wisdom and love, light, and healing through the orb now. This action is called torsion action. So the energy that's spinning around you is starting to pull through all that you need right now in this time and space through the orb. It's the safest possible energy and information, and it's coming directly from the Creator. It's pure and clean and just what you need right now. So by us doing this action right now, spinning the energy from around us, allowing the orb to grow brighter, it's getting bigger and it's starting to go outside of your energy field right now. Feel that. Feel the warmth. I'm feeling all the way up in my face now, and it's starting to get bigger. It's expanding. Allow it to expand and watch it expand. So much so that now there's a globe that's actually starting to form around you completely. And this globe is like a container. It's like a force field of energy. It's holding everything good that you're pulling through the orb in your field. And it's keeping anything that doesn't belong in your field out. It's a force field. So the energy is still spinning around you. Allow it to expand out because this globe, I'm seeing it now, it's expanding out for me a few feet. So we're just going to let this continue and just sit with us for a minute or so. Feel the warmth that's all around you, emanating from your chest. And put your focus back in this area of safety, this area behind your sternum. And start to think about, what is your life's purpose now? Why are you here? You came here, you didn't come here by accident. You came here to be at this time and place to do something. So clear your mind of anything that you've learned about yourself in the past, what people have told you, what your teachers told you, what your coworkers told you, your bosses told you. None of it is true. What is really true? Ask your oversoul, why did you come here now? What is your role? And how can you best serve that role? What are the habits and the cycles that you need to break to better fulfill that role? How can you lead an unhindered life? Unhindered by outside sources and unhindered by your own habits and behaviors from the past. Let's meditate on this for a few seconds. And let's all get a push of just wisdom that's coming through. Allow us to be smarter and better people and more wise and more compassionate, more balanced. We want to thank Archangel Michael, Raphael, Saint Germain, all the guides, guardian angels, healing entities, and non-physical beings of all of our best interests in mind. Please allow us to integrate this energy with grace and ease. Please look after us with love and protection for the rest of the day. And thank you all. So bring your consciousness slowly back into your physical body now. Open your eyes, stretch, wake back up. And we want to thank you all for participating in this session. And like I said, you can replay this. You can replay this episode as many times as you want to walk through this meditation. Highly recommend you do it as often as you can. How'd that feel, Wendy?
Oh, that was fantastic. Thank you so much, Greg. Really, really appreciate that. And I just want to go back. You had mentioned early on Surviving Death, and it's interesting, the new Netflix docuseries. There's just 6 episodes, and it's based on Leslie Kean's book, Surviving Death, which I happen to have right on my desk, because it just was such a fantastic series. And this coming Thursday, I have the privilege, I'm going to be on a near-death experiencer panel with 2 of the people that were featured in the documentary. So if people would like to hear that conversation and to hear those experiences be shared, go to wisdomsoup.com and you can sign up for the free meetup, which will be held via Zoom. And it's going to be this Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And if that time doesn't work for you, no problem. Just sign up anyway, because then you'll just get the recording for free and it'll just automatically be sent to you. But I'm just really looking forward to getting to participate in that, and want to thank everyone for being here with us today. And again, as Greg said, go to wakingupspiritually.com and you can listen to some of our previous podcasts. We'd love to hear your suggestions, your needs, what's going well, what do you need more help with, topics. Send us some suggested topics and subjects, and we would just love to be able to respond to that. And again, you can explore having a past life regression session with me via Zoom. I do comprehensive 2.5 hour and 4 hour sessions. And that's information's found at my website, wendyrosewilliams.com. And you can request a complimentary 15-minute phone appointment there and tell me what's going on and how I might be of service.
Awesome. Come check me out at greggkirk.com. That's GREGGKIRK.com. And you can sign up for an individual session or come join us in our online group healing circles. And God bless everyone. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and have a great rest of your weekend or week.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.